Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. When defamed actress Elisabeth is abruptly called into a parent-teacher meeting after hours, she is presented with a scathing allegation that triggers a tangled web of accusations between parents and faculty. I'm going to leave it there. The film is called Armand. Beautifully done, absolutely gorgeous film to look at, the story, the intense drama that it is. We're joined today by the writer and director Halfdan, Ullmann, Tøndel, as well as the lead actress Renate Reinsve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. It is, and cinematically, it is just beautifully done structurally, the look of it, the acting, and the subtleties. There's so many kind of understated parts of the film that really drive the drama. I'll start with you, Halfdan. What inspired you to write this and direct this?
So it started a little bit with the character of Elisabeth that Renate plays. She was a character I knew very well inside of me, and I needed to find the right film for her to be in to take advantage of the potential and the range of the character. And then I heard this story about two 6-year-old boys on a camping trip, and that was only like a 15-second story that I heard on a party. And it was very little information, but the only thing that was part of that story was that one of the 6-year-old boys had said something to another, which was kind of adult-like kind of thing to say. And then my mind started to imagine how the kids were, how the parents was, where did the kids learn something like that? And I've been working myself in a primary school for many years, so I kind of knew that this was a little bit deviant maybe behavior, and it just became then a really good sandbox of exploring different themes and different characters, and it also felt like logistically very doable being my first feature.
One of the things about the film that I found very interesting is how much is understated or not stated, and how that drives the story. And it gives you an opportunity, I think, as a filmmaker to push this in multiple directions, often at the same time. There's things that we don't quite know about what happened, and it allows me as a viewer to kind of backfill what it is that actually happened and how it happened and why it happened. So that I thought was really cinematically an important part for me, an important part of the film and the filmmaking. Is that a fair assessment of the film?
It's a very fair assessment. I'm very happy that you say that. So many films now is feeding you with a teaspoon what to feel and what to think. And for myself, I really enjoy seeing films, where I can fill in, the blank holes myself, depending on what my, emotional luggage is, and my emotional experience and things I have experienced myself in my life. And I think that is so important, in watching films. And I wanted to make a film that created this opportunity for the audience as well.
Renate, in terms of your preparation for this film, I know you're also executive producer on the film, which is another layer of involvement and helping to guide this story. But what I found about your character, again, and sort of in keeping with what I just asked about, which is the kind of so much uncertainty as to what your backstory is. And it gives you, I assume, as an artist, an awful lot of latitude to perform in this. What was your preparation like? What was it? Was it the collaboration between the two of you? Is it something that you gave yourself a lot of time to prepare for? Because it's a very complex performance. So what was your preparation like?
So I come from the theater. So in theater, you learn a lot of analysis and how to find, like in writing, I guess too, to find contrast and put things up against each other. Like we were fed this sentence, like you have to see one thing, hear another, and then experience a third. And I try to find that in every scene and pull things apart. And if I say something, really go in depth in the opposites of how she would feel and experience. And the more I get to work on a script, the more detailed it can be, because then you can use as much time as possible to build these details and these nuances. And we had a lot of time with this character because it took a long time to get money. So then we would keep talking, and I think I had like a couple of or 3 months to really build analysis. And of course, the analysis is in structure to help me keep the opportunities open. So then when I come on set, I have specific choices, and then I offer them to Halfdan, and if he disagrees or wants something else, I can be very flexible because I've been very in depth in what I want. So that's my method, I think, in broad strokes.
Well, the film is, if I'm not mistaken, primarily, if not entirely, linear. And which I found one of the things about your performance and about the character and many characters in the film as we go forward, in that things that seem one way when the first time we see it, or see a manifestation of it, can be something completely different later on in the film. And again, that speaks, I think, to the preparation, kind of the thoroughness of these performances and the way the film plays out. So I thought that was beautifully done. Just as I don't think I have a question exactly to say.
Thank you.
I just like that about a film because your attention to it is rewarded. That's, I think, something for our listeners to keep in mind. Pay attention because there are things that will be the weight of them will shift as the film progresses. Who's at fault, who isn't, why, how this all happened, and all the backstories that come into play here. Renate, one of the things that I was struck about in your performance is the physicality of it. This had to have been a daunting experience for you. Just the sheer physicality of what you put your character through in the film is remarkable. Talk a little bit about getting ready for that and what was that like on set, or just sort of as you're going through it. I'm very curious how that plays out for you because it's pretty amazing, actually.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's very deeply linked into her mentality. So finding a way to express that was important to you too, to find a way to express that she was very, very uncomfortable in the not knowing. And then when the catastrophe had kind of unfolded and she knew what she could deal with, she had control, then she would be very calm in a way. And her ways of getting in control was very restless, and this state of being manipulative and not knowing when you are or when you're sincere was actually extremely challenging to be in that space, that headspace. And then finding a way, sometimes very specifically planned with hand gestures and the jacket and being tense, but also sometimes just finding it then and there. So, but it must be said, like all this analysis and all these preparations always like go towards what's fun, because even though it was a lot of pain and even though it was a lot of really tense moments, we always both like went for what we thought would be fun, what we thought would be like interesting and extreme and fun to play or play with. So
Yeah, you can see that. And I mean, there's one particular sequence that's, I mean, it looked extremely difficult for you. I'll just say that just the kind of, and just being on set, I can imagine how creating a set, by the way, in terms of just creating a set where it allows her to be able to go through what appears to be a very sustained and uncomfortable kind of sequence, if you will.
Yeah, for me, it was a real like gift working with Renate on this and trying to create this space where she could express herself in the full range of the character. Yeah, it was, and she's also the kind of actor that offers me as a director a lot of options all the time. Even though she's very thorough on her analysis, she continuously offer small little nuances that we can build upon on, and that was something we did a lot with this film. And we also shot it chronologically, so it was kind of a good thing to keep track on the feelings and on the physicality. You know, she walks in different tempos throughout the film, and it was kind of a good way to have that in control.
Yeah, the very first time we see her out of her car and walking into the school is a very demonstrative kind of, vibe.
Very demanding.
Very certain kind of attitude going in, which is, yeah, very powerful. I just want to quickly remind our listeners we're talking about the film Armand.
Perfect date movie.
Yeah, it is that. Well, if you want to see the full range of what you may or may not be in for, yes, it's a perfect date movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it is all of that. And just again, beautifully, it's won a number of awards. It's been very, very well received. So congratulations as your first feature film. Congrats, and also as executive producer as well. That's got to feel pretty darn good. One of the other things about this film that where it starts and where it ends are very different. And I don't think I've given enough weight to the incident, the story. The story revolves around two boys in primary school, young boys, young men, if you will, who are involved in an incident, an event, a violence even may have been visited upon one of the boys in this incident, if you will. And one of the things that I'm struck by in the film, to me, watching the kind of what I took away from it is, it's a film about violence, it's about trauma, it's about generational trauma, it's about dealing with trauma, and in a very profound way, at a very visceral level. Is that a fair way to
A very
Mm.
fair way to put it. And it's also a little bit about boundaries, where the different boundaries between play and abuse go, between right and wrong, truth or false,
Yeah.
love and violence.
And this is just me being a film geek, totally a film geek. One of my favorite films is Persona. And
Yeah,
the fact that it's an actress who is dealing with something, and we bring her in, sort of breaking the fourth wall of actors, in the way that it just reminds me of Bergman, that it's this
yeah,
woman who has gone through something. We're not quite exactly sure exactly what has upended her life, and she's being introduced into this very real world, if you will, the real world of her son and something that happened. And I don't know if I'm sure that wasn't intentional, but for me, it reminded me of Bergman, who often did that, would put people in a sense of their position in society and then putting them in a very, very difficult situation.
yeah. It's I actually didn't see Persona before after I wrote wrote the last draft like 3 years ago. But I was also I think it was funny that, she's an actor in the film, she's called Elisabeth, and things like this. And it's actually quite coincidentally. So, yeah.
I also want to talk about the supporting cast, which I really, really appreciated. The teachers who are gathering to kind of make an assessment of whether or not this happened and what the appropriate punishment might be. Those are three terrific performances from there. There's a number of perform. I mean, I'm widening out to the relatives and the all of everybody in it's fantastic. But I thought that the group of the teachers and the dynamic within that's a very special part of the film. Let's talk about what were you thinking in terms of their performances, what they bring to the story.
Yeah, so so for me, I watched the parents as a little bit of the dramatic, element, and the school people more as a little bit more satirical element in the
Right.
film.
Right.
Uh, I wanted this teacher to, she's giving this task and she wants to, do it, but she is kind of aborted right in the beginning before she's even able to. I compared it to when talking to her, like she was comparing it to Lord of the Rings. She was, being gifted the ring and going to Mordor, but like at the first stop, Gandalf coming and say, no, why we don't believe that you can do it. You know,
No, exactly.
that was something we had a lot of fun with, with her character, comparing it to Lord of the Rings. And the principle, I wanted this man to be, he's a leader, but he hates leadership. He only wants to show like an illusion of leadership, and he refuses to take any responsibility, and he's afraid of everything, you know, and he's very anxious all the time. And actually, the school nurse, she's the most competent person, and she's maybe the one who could have come and saved the situation, but she just have a very unlucky day with all the nose bleeding. That kind of hinders her from making taking a good part in the film. So yeah, with the nose bleeding, I'm a nose bleeder myself, so I know it can happen on bad places. But actually, the reason I wrote in the nose bleeding was that because I saw this TV show, The Night Off, with John Turturro, and I thought that was such a brilliant show because part of the subplot of the film was that he had this problem with his foot, this really physical problem, and it was a law drama, but he had this problem with his foot, and I thought that was just such a human thing, you know. We trying to deal with situations in our life, and sometimes we can just be unlucky with some physical stuff that kind of hinders us from doing a good job.
One last thing, and this is executive producer and director question, because the film starts out in a certain way, and as the film progresses, as I've been talking about, kind of the deeper we go into this story, it turns into something that borders on a horror movie. It felt very much like by the time we get to the end, it felt like I watched, basically, I mentioned to you before we got started, The Shining as a reference. It feels like that. That's where we started, where we end up. Quite an accomplishment in terms of just your filmmaking. And I don't, again, not sure what the question should be, but I thought it was just terrific the way you took us on this journey. And again, a very cinematic journey as well.
Yeah, thank you. I really wanted to, have this film that started as a almost like social realistic chamber play, but then gradually turning more and more into a nightmare. So that was the thought behind that.
That's a very appropriate way to put it. Nightmare is what it becomes in so many ways. Well, I want to thank both of you. This is just like I said, just a terrific film. I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to talk with you about it. And I urge you to check out Armand, the film, and beautifully done. Again, we've been speaking with the director and writer, Halfdan, Ullmann, Tøndel, and the lead actor and executive producer, Renate Reinsve. Once again, thank you so very much for spending some time with us. Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com.